There can be only one podcast, and may it be the Prince of the Universe. Hi, folks. I'm Matt.
And I'm Wes.
Oh, and this is Dark Side of the Ring.
How many Princes of the Universe have there been?
This is number...
No, I mean, your co-host. How many people have sat under
it's
this
just the
boom mic?
Well, I mean, guest stars,
Yeah.
there's been a lot.
I
don't know that, but permanent ones is just you and Bruce.
Okay, just wondering.
And to be honest, I need to check and see. You're probably catching up on episodes on Bruce now.
How about that?
Over the past 2 years.
Crown me.
Yeah. No, you're another year or so, you should be eclipsing him, I would say.
Okay.
I'd like to check that out now. You got me curious. Huh.
Curious like a cat?
Curious like a cat. And I did some on my own. I've done some on my own. But he did the first couple hundred though with me for a while, and then you took over. And you've been pretty set because he comes in every once in a while. But yeah.
Okay.
I think so. That's an interesting one. But yeah, this is 361.
Okay. So tell us what hard-hitting subjects we're going into today.
Well, the first episode is Chris Adams, the Gentleman and the Demon. We talk about Dark Side of the Ring, and this was someone with a temper.
Very much a temper.
Very much a temper, and like super nice on one thing, and then like they said, you get the drink in you.
Those red eyes.
I loved how they did that, though. You know, I know that was all symbolic, but
sure.
Everyone said he was like the nicest guy sober, like the nicest guy, super cool, and then just like crazy, like Hulk smash.
There you go.
Rage there. Now I didn't know much about this wrestler or anything. Did you know any?
Yeah, I mean, they were right about like his time was bigger in Dallas, and you know he was there during a lot of the terrible slide of world class, and unfortunately he did contribute to part of that because of all of his outside the ring issues. And they'd already, we already covered Gino, his partner's tag team partner.
Right.
His death, years ago in one of these. So they were both kind of had these slippery slopes outside the ring. But yeah, he was pretty much. And I think the worst thing that comes across on these shows now, and with Dark Side, there's a lot of bad things. It's always substance abuse, but there's this like real physical outside force on women. He was just not a good dude.
The temperament, the way he acted, what he did, just the rage.
Yeah.
It seemed like, and they did a good job documenting that. And I mean, everyone was backing up the story. I don't think, sometimes you over embellish a little bit just to make it more. I don't believe it was over embellished at all. I think from all the accounts and testimonies you heard about, it was just you would be afraid,
right?
Like his friends were afraid when he was drinking and everything.
Yeah, and you can't do business with people like that.
No,
you'll do business with them one time, and then their word is just trashed.
Yeah.
Because they're either going to hold you up for money or they're going to work too stiff with the talent, and no one's going to want to work with them because it's kind of dangerous.
But it was different in that he didn't show up to the ring drunk. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like he did his work. So like a Jeff Hardy.
Right.
Shows up loaded to the biggest main event pay-per-view or whatever.
Right.
Or other people who have shown up drunk on the job and were swinging around Jake the Snake, stuff like that. So it's not like the demons constantly plagued him. It was like a Jekyll and Hyde.
Right.
A true Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah.
And you're right. You can't deal with someone like that because they're going to go drinking. That was the thing. He did his business, and then there was his drinking time. He separated the two, but it didn't make it any better for him. Whereas the average wrestler, you know what I mean? The average wrestler with these drinking problems carry it with them day in, day out. Jake the Snake was as messed up in the day, and it didn't matter what time of the day it was.
Right.
Back in the day. And all these other guys. But he seemed very strict on this and that, sweated out my system the next day.
I thought it was good that, I think that it's something to be said that Chris Adams did train guys, And for for Austin to come out of that situation is pretty surprising, because so many guys do train wrestlers that are wrestlers, and none of them become anything.
Yeah.
And for that is Austin's start, and just showed how talented Austin was, how many tools he already had.
And that was a connection I had no idea about. They kind of slipped that in toward the end. I was like, oh. And the whole storyline and how he was kind of outshining. Austin was outshining everyone.
And then Austin ends up with his wife. The wrestling
Yes.
business.
And I was going to say, isn't the first time, will not be the last. Something that continuously happens in the world of wrestling there. Wife swapping.
Yeah, don't bring your women around the wrestling business.
Yeah.
It is like just a good way to ruin something.
More than once. They could tell that story a couple of times.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that have been under that dark side of the ring.
That's true.
Just some real character flaws in that.
That is true. That is true. It is odd seeing the young Stone Cold, well, before he was Stone Cold, stunning Steve Austin, the long blonde hair. It's just a wild image. And what I mean by that is Hogan's pretty much Hogan throughout his life.
Correct.
He always was balding. He always had the long, I don't know what it's called, the hippie hair with the bald thing. He was the only cool bald guy that was in the 80s.
Right.
And whatnot. But he kind of kept that image. He got older but kept his image. But whenever I look at stunning Steve Austin, I see it in the face, but I'm looking at the Clark Kent Superman thing. Like, this guy cannot go on to
he
be...
carried that into WCW, so he did run with it for a while. But I think
he was definitely talented in the ring back then. But yeah, that's why he was the ring master.
That is true, yes.
For a little while.
But I thought the Chris Adams thing, his end was really, man, that was just depressing. That encompasses dark side between killing a girl with an overdose and then getting into a fight with your roommate and your roommate killing you because your roommate is
afraid for his
life because he knows how
dangerous. And he's just, the guy's crazy. And the guy was choking him at the time too. So choking him too. So what are you going to do? This guy is super strong, super angry, super drunk, and you got to do something. Yeah. And that is very tragic because they were friends for the longest.
Yeah, they was living with the guy or something like that.
The guy was letting him stay there. Obviously, the guy was there for him when everyone else had abandoned him. This was, in a way, his only friend. No one else was dealing with him.
Yeah.
So, what happens to the guy who has no friends and attacks the only friend he has? That just kind of shows how sad and insecure he truly became when he got at his worst.
Yeah.
I mean, and you said it right. This is a true dark side, dark side of a man here. So yeah. I thought the whole episode was very fitting to the theme of the show. We talked at the very beginning, the very first episode, we felt like, I don't know if there's anything dark about Earthquake. But, I mean, it was a sad story at the end, but
I thought the unfortunate side of the ring is definitely the Earthquake story.
Yeah, the unfortunate side. I mean, died at 3, whatever we said it was. That's young.
The Chris Adams story is very much like...
Whoa! Like a true dark side of a person and just self-destructive.
Went through the business, the way he went through his friends, the way he went through women, and just was just so self-destructive.
Yeah. Yeah. It is like Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah, he was
Hyde destroys everything he loves, and Hyde dies at the end. And this is I'm kind of curious why they didn't go with that kind of analogy there. That would have actually been pretty good. Because, I mean, they did the gentleman and the demon is what they said. So, Jekyll and Hyde's, not copyrighted.
Well, I mean, he was a good babyface too, but it's interesting how good of a heel he was, and that just shows, how talented the guy was, because he worked both styles so well. And then he had that super kick, which was something that a lot of people took with them. that's used today too much, but he is the first that really revolutionized, for lack of a better term.
Oh, he was the first with the super kick.
Yeah, that really, that was kind of like a
Sold
finish.
Yeah.
If you hit that, that's it. And so the guy brought a lot to the business, and I guess you could say he left it all there because he just died a very empty life.
And I mean, all these guys that they're showing are super talented. I think that's the whole point, is like, look at these guys who had it all, who, were at one point in their life at the peak, at the highest they could be. No one else could touch them at these times.
And then what happened with him at WCW, to think that, he had finally got some loose guarantee of a contract, and then
blown.
Even if it was $3,000 a week, that's better than he was probably making $3,000 a month at best without that deal.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So
sad. But a good episode, we both agree.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so the next one is one of the better ones. And I think we both talked about this one last week when we knew we were going to talk about this week, but Sensational Sherry.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Yeah, one of the best, I think.
One of the best of the season, and so sad, just by the son himself. The son.
Yeah, that was so alarming. That was jarring.
Now his son, they didn't say what it was because he didn't say, but they think it was jaw cancer or
he's the Sherry's best friend was saying she believes he has some type of cancer.
Yeah. But he didn't want to say anything. He's not the one to complain. Because of that, his jaw's a little uptight, and he speaks. They had to do a
missing
lot of subtitles.
His tongue, part of his tongue.
He's missing part of his tongue. And it's kind of heartbreaking because you're seeing pictures of him as a kid.
Yeah.
With his mom. Obviously loved his mom as a kid.
And still seems to love her. Doesn't speak ill will, doesn't seem to have... Yeah. He doesn't carry a lot of resentment toward the hand he was dealt.
But there's a little pain in there about, did I miss my mom? Did I wish she was around more? And he goes, hell yeah, I wish she was around, you know. And I mean, yeah, because he missed her and he loved her, and she wasn't around for him. Sad, and you kind of, I don't know if you'd be thinking this, but she, obviously when she was still around, he wasn't in the condition he is now. Because they showed that picture of him at the Hall of Fame when Sherry was being inducted. He looked fine then.
Yeah, it was
completely different.
Yeah, looks like two different people.
Yeah, two different people. So I think if she could see him now, there'd be a lot of outpouring of support. I think Sherry's heart would break a little, and she'd be a really good mom to him now and would need him. Wouldn't like to see the way he's at now.
Yeah.
And that is, out of all of these people, and we're getting ahead on Sensational Sherry, but we can go back after this. But we can circle back around. That's right. But of all these people, I feel like if she had to do it over again, would she?
Well, she's got a hell of a career. Her career holds up. Like,
it's monumental. Everything, no doubt.
And I'm not saying question her being a mother. I think that she came from a tough upbringing, whatever else she was dealing with. Anybody that can get along that well with Jake and then get in.
That's a rough family. That's a rough business, especially back then when women were
dealing
not...
with Grizzly Smith and then her going to the other promoter and him slapping her in the face, which was great because Cornette said, I'm surprised she didn't whoop his ass.
Yeah.
And Sherry was known to be pretty tough, and she came across on that show just... A lot of people say like a pioneer of the business, but I think she was. I mean, you look at everything she accomplished and how much success she had.
I think the episode really showed, really kind of put her on a pedestal, rightly so.
Yeah.
Because before this, I knew who she was. I didn't know how impactful. I think the show kind of elevated her status in my mind.
I do. Yeah, I don't think it's hard for some people's... some of their stories come across where they go, well, they had it and blew it. And Sherry's was, she may have had it and she couldn't just hold on to it.
She had it and then it was taken away.
Yeah, because I don't really feel like she blew a lot of...
No.
To the way that some of the other people profiled in these shows are.
I like the theme of regrets, that she did miss her son.
Yeah.
But she knew she was not going to be a wife. That was not her calling in life. And was moving on to, wrestling was, and wrestling always was. Interesting having the husband there. He seemed at peace with it all.
Yeah, he was an interesting guy.
Yeah.
I thought it was the story about the two guys kind of saying, Sherry's gone, leave her alone. She's in the business. I believe that.
I believe that too. I don't believe that. I don't believe that's added in there for effect or drama. Because back then, that's how things were. It was a little bit mafia.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
It was very much more a controlled business where it was not outsider friendly at all. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure she probably told a couple of guys, I need
can you get him off my back.
Yeah. And they're like, sure.
Anything for you, Sherry. You're one of the boys, like they all
Right.
were saying. And
Yeah.
She was like one of the boys.
Yeah, correct.
In a way. She gained the respect of... That's the other thing. It was hard for women to get respect in the business at the time. It seemed like she had everyone's respect.
But everybody she managed has always said, she was just tough. So that was it. Like, if you watch her on those shows, man, she was bumping around and falling out of the ring.
She took several bumps. The hair throwing her out on the ring, slamming onto the concrete. She wasn't afraid to take any of those bumps.
And I'm sure Medusa was right about saying her body, I'm sure she was hurting tremendously.
Oh, yeah.
Because her frame, it's one thing for Randy Savage to take a bump like that, but for a woman that weighs half of that and not even half that muscle.
And the thing is, I don't want to get thrown out of the ring, but a lot of her things was, interrupt at the ringside, them to slam her down, and then her to fall onto the concrete.
Right.
That was every night.
Yeah.
Everyone else got to fall on the mat. Not that was better.
Yeah, she's jumping off.
She's dropping off the ringside.
Wrestling mats on concrete. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
pretty unforgiving
it's a little bit more frequently harder bumps than a lot of these guys. And you're right, her body wasn't built for that as well. But didn't complain.
I thought she did so well with adjusting her style to who she was with. And, people would talk about her makeup. And, she owned that. That was just such a thing where
it gave her personality.
Yeah.
It was the Sting face paint. That was her mark.
Yeah.
Someone could dress up as Sensational Sherry, and you could know who she was dressed up as.
Yeah, you make this crazy, almost Bride of Frankenstein look. But,
I like that Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah, she just had this real... She's a character that you can look back on and go, oh, yeah. She fit all of that.
Yeah, she fit the bill and all of it. Jim Cornette, I didn't know about that either, was teamed up. That was his first
introduction. Yeah, that was one of his first people he managed.
And it was, of course, it's always a good episode when they have Mr. Cornette on it. I feel like, I know they don't want to use the same guest for every episode, but we need to make the exception. There's
always credibility with Cornette and at least some ridiculous story.
And I was saying this off camera before we started, but you listened to Jim Cornette's podcast and everything. You got me kind of listening on it. I'll listen to it here and there. I've really enjoyed what I've heard.
Yep.
And the episodes that he is not on, or even that he is on, but the ones he's not on, he'll comment and give his thoughts and everything.
Right.
And I really find out thinking like, man, they should have put, I can't remember which episode it was, like a Barber Beefcake. They should have put him on that episode. Yeah, but I think that of everything now, because he knows so much about the business. He knows the stories. He knew all these people.
Yeah, no, it's rare that somebody is as intelligent as him can be objective at the same point.
Yeah, that's the other thing. He's very objective. Some of these were friends he hung out with, he knew.
Yeah.
But he did admit they had a problem.
Sure.
Or they were wrong here.
Yeah.
Or this was not right, even though they were my friend. And Sherry, he was super close to.
Yep.
I did not realize that.
And I just love that story about her walking into the promoter and him slapping her and her not backing down. I think that just encompasses everything about her. She was double tough.
You couldn't intimidate her. You couldn't tell her no. She knew what she wanted to do. And that's how she gained the respect of Jake's family, I think.
And I think that, so much of her career in WWF was with her with Savage because it was such a shift from Elizabeth to her, which I thought was great because she's nothing like Liz.
Oh no, the exact opposite.
Liz barely got involved and was very quiet, and Sherry was always animated and over the top.
Loud, yes.
And then to think that Sherry's last big run in WCW was with Harlem Heat, I think that was such a underutilized thing too. And I know it's partially because of her. She couldn't stay clean. But if you watch some of that stuff, even the comedy stuff before the NWO with Colonel Parker, it's very funny and entertaining. Like Sherry got the business. She may have enjoyed the outside part of the business a little too much, but she was a hell of a performer.
Mm-hmm. No, like I said, the entire episode really highlighted her impact in wrestling for me.
Yeah, she's definitely moved up. You watch that, and you can't help but move her up the ladder of
impactful people in the sport,
especially out of women. I mean, can't argue that.
Well, I go through that. Of course, she went through Moolah, which everyone eventually goes through the marvelous Moolah, whatever.
Yeah.
And Moolah had held the belt for decades.
Sure.
Because it was basically not that important. It
right.
was just forgotten. And why not give it to Moolah? She gives the
she kind of owns the women's wrestling business.
She's the ringleader, so she can be the champion as long as she wants to. But it was Sherry who beat her.
Yeah, one of the people that.
But she wasn't under Moolah that long. She, just like a lot of people didn't see eye to eye with
her. She had her. Moolah ran a pretty
tight ship.
Tight ship, for lack of a better term. Yeah, and Sherry was pretty loose ship.
Yeah, she was going to sail wherever the wind guided her.
Yes.
Not where Moolah told her to sail to.
Yeah, exactly.
But then for her to get that and get the belt off Moolah and again, I didn't realize I didn't even know who took the belt off Moolah. But she had it for, 30 years, 40? I mean,
yeah, but and then even that, like, she wasn't pigeonholed. She took to managing and being a valet to such a high level in WWF, in AWA, in WCW. I mean, she...
Oh, no. She shone wherever she was put and in whatever role she was playing.
Yeah, and she may have been, I think, at the end of WWE when she was, like, with Tatanka and all that. I mean, unfortunately, that's just how it goes. You kind of run through the things. But she was with Savage. She was with DiBiase. She was with Shawn. I mean, she worked with everybody.
Who was your favorite one that she got matched up with? Do you have a favorite?
I would think it would be Savage. I think the Shawn Michaels stuff was really good because she helped accentuate Shawn becoming a heel because she was such a good heel.
Yeah. That's right. And that's sometimes why she got brought in.
Yeah, and I think that's part of what helped with Savage because Savage was a good guy and bad guy, but
he was gaining a ton of respect. It was hard to see him as a
bad
guy.
It was hard to boo him at some point because he was so good. But for him to not have Liz and now have this other woman, you
felt betrayed.
Correct.
I mean that when you say it like that, because everyone was in love with Miss Elizabeth.
Yeah,
they loved Macho Man, Miss Elizabeth.
Yep.
Now Macho Man starts mistreating Elizabeth, like, oh, don't do that. We want y'all to be happy. And then there's this like break.
Yeah.
Like now, Mom and Dad have a divorce, and Dad is
dating
this woman that you just absolutely despise.
Who's wanting to move in the trailer with you.
Yep. It's hypothetically wanting to move into the trailer, and she don't work.
No.
To earn her pay. It's that kind of woman.
She's earning that pay a different way.
And you are pissed to high heaven. You don't like this. You want Mom back.
Yep.
You hate this skank.
Yes.
Compared to what Miss Elizabeth is. She is everything that Miss Elizabeth isn't. And it was the perfect dichotomy to say, this is a huge heel turn. You're mad at Macho Man for what now the heat's on.
Yeah.
Mistreating her, everyone's like, oh, come on, don't do that, Macho Man. We love you. Come on, y'all make up. And now it's like, no, you've gone too far. Not with this woman.
And I think that, to say, I know they question her because of her substance abuse, and obviously she had major issues that contributed to her death. But dang, she worked with Hogan in WWF and WCW. So Hogan is not going to waste his time with anybody that he does not think is going to make him some money.
That's true.
That's not going to make him look better. And Sherry always made Hogan look better.
Always.
So she was just a smart performer.
And you look at these people who manage, they're supposed to promote.
Yep.
That's why Jimmy Hart's super famous. Whoever he's behind, heel, hero, he's going to give you his all, and that's what managers supposed to do. Paul
Right.
Bearer, everyone. They're supposed to be there to help, build up whatever role this character has to play. We're going to show you that they're the perfect guy for it. Sherry did that as well.
Yep.
She fine-tuned her appearance, who she was. She kept true to her character, but was true manager
Yeah,
gold.
she made subtle things for every guy she managed, and they were all very memorable by what she did.
Yeah, I felt, and they didn't show, of course, that many clips, but every time she was with someone else, you could just tell there's a different way she walked down the aisle.
Yeah.
The way she moved, how
Yeah.
she chose her words.
Yeah.
And that little stuff, and I mean, I was noticing that because they showed a bunch of going down the aisle with whoever it was.
Right.
Sometimes more animated, sometimes more smooth, moving in, and she matched whoever she was blowing in because, you got to match up with the person you're with.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It's kind of weird. I'm sure some, people who've managed their whole life in wrestling wrote a book, but there is an art to being the manager.
Sure.
There is an art just like there is to everything in the business, but she definitely did that well. Now, her ending, which was sad and tragic, it came at a time where supposedly she had told her daughter, or no, she had told her friend.
Told her friend she had a big announcement. Something was going to happen
with the WWE. This is after her Hall of Fame.
Yep, that she was going to be involved with
training
developmental. Yeah.
Yeah, and she was excited about that
Which
to be back in. Is
may
this true?
Be.
Okay.
But I mean, the big women change in the business was still many years away. That kind of really manifested itself when they moved everything down to Florida. And I want to say that move was still a little bit away. But she probably...
Someone may have mentioned it at the Hall of Fame. It's like, hey, would you be interested in development? Okay, well, we'll be in touch.
They brought a lot of guys, old timers in,
That's
and
what
they
you
would
wanna
give
do.
them a run and say, hey, let's see what you got left. Because some people can perform and some people can teach. So if Sherry could teach half of what she knew, we already went on and on today about how incredible she was. You give half of what you know to a couple of different people on the roster, solid investment.
No, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But then it was that night after she talked to her friend. Is that when she
very
passed?
cinematic in that how it was right about to happen, but
well, that's why I was asking you. So
Yeah.
you think it was something that they had mentioned maybe in the books later on down the road, and of course I know Sherry would have been excited about it. But that night passes away.
That seems a little too Hollywood to me.
Okay, so that you think that
Just
all was
to
too
add
Hollywood.
to the
That's
tragic side of it.
fine. I agree. I felt that I was like right on the cusp, and then I thought, is that true? Was there something that has anyone verified it? Did
Yeah,
Jim Ross come
because
out and say, actually, she's right?
It
We
almost
signed a
almost
contract
sounds
with her."
like a Margie Jannetty story where
Well, you want to add it a little.
we and Sean were going to get back together and be the Rockers.
Yeah, exactly,
Like,
exactly.
well, are you?
Yeah. No, I agree with that. It's one of those things where I felt like they tried to push it a little too much at the end to make it even more tragic, the death even more tragic. But to be honest, they didn't have to do that. In fact, that's the only part where I went, really?
Yeah, a little show
But I mean,
business.
maybe so. That's what I was going to ask you first, if that was
Yeah.
true. If someone, like I said, someone in development goes, yeah, we were actually getting a contract for her. But so now it feels like it's a little forced. And they didn't need that, I felt. I felt like, she passed away because she is still dealing with drugs.
And I think also normally when someone dies that's kind of really in the WWF family, so to speak, someone from the WWF is there. Like, if it's not necessarily Vince always, but JR would be there.
Yeah, and they weren't.
Yeah.
Jake the Snake was.
Yeah, when you got
He
Jake the
wasn't at the same
Snake,
time.
yeah, that's kind of like, yeah.
Jake the Snake wasn't
That's like the
representing anyone.
Showbiz Pizza Bear, and the batteries are out, and it's moving at half rate. Because that's just depressing.
No,
like
I
Jake
agree.
said, he was at one of his lows, which was
It's understandable. That was
yeah.
one of his friends. Dated a little bit, maybe, we think.
Yeah, that's what he says.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was nothing about that show made you feel good other than it made you go, man, Sherry did a lot of good in the business.
I felt that's what
And
it
she
did,
had
too.
for 10 years, she did a lot of good.
Yeah. Good episode. So there you go, folks. 2 more episodes of Dark Side of the Ring. We will see you. If you've seen this, you can let us know about these 2 episodes in the comments below. And we'll see you next time on Princes of the Universe.